I love that they do the new update so that you know that I'm recording you. So there's no funny business, Colin.
Yeah.
We're gonna let some I'm gonna let some people pop in here, and I'm gonna wait to see that this pops up on my timeline so we can get it shared. Beautiful. Okay, there we are. Get some people in here. Mhm. Hello, everybody. We're just getting this moving through. People popping in. Okay. And then one more. Hello, hello. Hmm. Let's see. More options. I'm gonna go up here. We're just popping this on Colin's page for anybody that is watching through Colin's page here. Beautiful. I think we got this going. Perfect. Oh, hi, everybody. Hey, wow. Good morning to everybody over here, and good evening to you, Colin, and everybody else watching. It's so fun how time works because uh, there's like, when are you supposed to be on right now? So I find a lot of people in Australia, it's already Monday for them, right? And so
Yeah.
when we say, well, we're working on Sunday, they're like, well, it's Sunday and it's really Saturday. And so there's been some really fun things with that, which um, I don't know, it just fascinates me. I think time is fascinating. I think our lives are fascinating. And
Yeah.
so Colin made a very profound post not too long ago, and it was about holographic blending. There's a lot that goes into um, our reality, our actual authentic human constructs and our consciousness. And it's been kept from us. And so it's like a new concept that we're really trying to get out there, but it's not new at all. It's an old concept, right? Because it's the truth, it's the true concepts. And so really understanding um, how holographic blending works, what is it, and how do we tap into that to be able to maximize our frequencies, our vibrations, and our own realities. So I'm going to hand this over to Colin so he can explain what he was talking about. And feel free to chime in and ask questions. I'll be pausing and asking questions too, because this one is going to take a little bit of time and some really fun focus and interaction. So thank you. Coffee with Colin. I love it.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Chastity. It's great to be with you and with all the viewers. I really hope it's going to be a worthwhile time for all of us. I wrote that post because, first of all, I was prompted to write it by my higher self, just to make people aware of a reality change that's going to be happening. Now, a hologram is basically consciousness observing itself as material reality, as physical matter. And it has a way of a stair-step way that this process happens. But we are essentially in two different realities. The one is a reality of the frequencies of light and sound and how they work and how they create the hologram. Now you might wonder, how do they create the hologram? Well, it's when two, an electric and a magnetic wave cross each over, they spark, like when you connect two wires of opposite polarity. And when they spark, they create consciousness. And that consciousness is who we are, actually. So that consciousness then begins to observe its reality, its environment, the things around it, and it begins to develop as a conscious being. And it goes through many cycles of lifetimes, ever evolving from amoeba, bacteria, viruses, to, through the vegetation, insect, plant species. And we go through those many incarnations until we incarnate as human beings. But then even as humans, we've had many incarnations into different lives. And we carry a lot of information in our DNA. And our DNA is fashioned after what is called the universal creation and design template. So while our DNA changes, the template doesn't change. And the template is also something that's always there, but we haven't yet, what's the word I'm looking for? Haven't activated.
Embodied or activated. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't activated parts of the template because we're in a three-dimensional carbon-based system here. Now, we're in an ascension cycle. And what that essentially means, there's an opportunity for the people and anything on this planet to evolve into a higher dimension if they have accumulated sufficient soul codes in their DNA. Now, DNA soul codes in our soul bodies equate to junk DNA in our physical bodies. And our soul codes hold the history of our experiences since incarnation. So we have all that information in our bodies, as well as our genetic history. All the lifetimes we've lived and all the families we've been in. So it carries the history of our genealogy. And so we've got all this history information stored in our bodies. And what we're observing out there is actually an illusion, a three-dimensional illusionary space that we create. And we create it by observation of it. If we stop observing it, for instance, if we close our eyes, we won't see material matter. We just see darkness because we're not getting the light. Now, it's a two-way street. What we create also creates us. So it's what we create and how we respond to that creation that determines our experiences. Now, most people are in the mode of reacting to their experiences. So they create what they create, they react to it. Instead of responding to it, they react to it. And when they react to it, they don't don't learn what that experience is meant to give them. Mm-hmm. And so they don't contemplate why they are experiences and what was it within them that caused them to have those experiences. So that's just a bit of background on holograms. But the process we're going through now, in order to evolve from a carbon-based body to a crystalline-based or silicate-based body, we have to raise our consciousness. But because our consciousness here has been dumbed down by a lot of indoctrination, lies, false testimony, false teachings, that we have to raise our levels of consciousness so that when the flash happens or the event happens, that where our bodies will suddenly be move from carbon-based to silicate-based bodies, that it would do harm to our consciousness, to our soul bodies, if we didn't raise our frequencies.
Right.
Okay.
Can
and
I ask
be ready
you,
for that.
Can I ask you a question?
So what yeah.
Before we get too far
Sure.
into, go ahead.
Go ahead. You got a question?
Yeah, because some people are going to say the flash, they're going to think of it as an event. And I just want to, I just want to ask about this because would it be fair to say that it isn't a global event, but rather a individual event when your consciousness is raised? Or are you stating that it would be a global event and it won't happen if enough people's consciousness aren't raised? Does that make sense?
No, it happens whether you're ready for it or not.
Yeah,
It
I just
happens.
want
Yeah, in a ascension cycle. Ascension cycles essentially happen when the Earth has our solar system have moved around the galaxy and then aligned back up with the solar central sun, the galactic central sun.
to.
And so that process takes about 25,500 years. And then every 25,000 and a half years, we get this flash of light from the galactic central sun.
Right.
And then those who are ready to evolve will receive that energy. And because they've done the work to prepare their DNA, they've activated higher levels of DNA, they are able to move out into a new dimension.
Mhm.
In the past, people, when the super event happened, people would be in a portal, okay? And these are called stargates. And so people would go into these stargate holding facilities, and then they would go, when that event happened, they would move out of from one dimension to another. There are actually the ascension cycle is divided into four events. So there's the big, then another 8.25 thereabout years. Then there's a small event, and then halfway stage is a small event, and 3/4 of the way there's a small event. This is called the harvest,
Mhm.
where every 8,000 years, people are able to move into higher dimensions or into other space-time continuum. Because, for instance, if you want to travel to another place on Earth, you would use a Earth Stargate. If you wanted to go somewhere else in this solar system, you'd use a solar Stargate. If you wanted to go somewhere else in the galaxy, you'd go to Galactic Stargate. And then the Universal Stargate is to move interdimensionally. But most of the like some of the planets that we might go to, so for instance, with a galactic stargate, might be in another dimension as well. So you have to be ready, because your physical body will change from a carbon base to a silicate-based body if you move into higher dimensions. Because in the next level of dimensionality, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, our bodies will be semi-etheric, and they'll be less dense than they are now. So we have to have, because when this event happens, it's like a fire, okay? And if you carbon based, it'll burn you.
And a lot of people are saying that this is like I'm not eating the same foods. I can't eat. I don't have an appetite. What's happening? And I say, well, you're burning your carbon body and moving to another dimensional, space-time reality. And is
Yeah,
that, that's a side effect, right? So this is what you mean by burning, right? Like you're literally burning the carbon away.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, people won't physically burn.
Right.
They'll just, because every material, every one of the minerals, chemicals in the sonic table has a specific frequency. So when you go through that frequency changes, it changes the frequency of the matter that's in your body. So that okay. Now, offshoot of this is going to be the med beds,
Mhm.
because if our bodies are holographic, then you can holographically heal the body. If you are able to read someone's DNA, because the DNA will carry the blueprint of the genetics as well as the blueprint of their soul history. But I don't think it's going to do anything with the soul history, but they're able to change the holographic body by using frequency waves, waves
Very
of light
cool.
and sound. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that question, because I know some people talk about the flash and don't understand how it breaks down. Some people will say, well, that's on another timeline. That's not this timeline. That it was on a whole nother plan or system. And so, you know, there's a lot of questions there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, whenever this event happens, the central sun sends a stream of light to everything down the pike, as it were, through the galaxy. So all the all the stars, planets, moons, and will receive that energy boost. You know, as it moves, it keeps actually flashing on and off. But we don't notice it because we're not in the central zone yet.
Right.
And as we move through that central zone, we receive the flash and then we move on, because nothing is static in the universe. Everything is moving constantly. And so if one understands that, after the event, we go through this process of change in our bodies. Now, normally, as I said, we used to use stargates to do this, but our higher selves have devised this new method of ascension specifically for our planet. And it's never been done, as far as I know, I was told it's never been done before. And it's a completely new approach, because they seeded, they sent down many star seeds and indigos to this planet to raise the frequency of the planet. And people who are awake are generally either a star seed or an indigo. You know, they come from other planets that just don't know it.
Not yet, but
Not
we
yet,
we
yeah.
got this. And there are some of us that know, and we're going to start plucking them plucking them out, you know, and saying, okay, now here's your mission.
Yeah. Before I knew where I came from, because I didn't know when I woke up, I always thought, where do I think I came from? I had no idea until I actually was told and went to the place that I'd been living before I incarnated here. And so I know where I come from, but I also know a lot about the Pleiadians, who are the star seeds, because the Sirius complex, there are 4 planets in Sirius. They're not anymore in our space-time continuum, but there were 4 planets around with 4 stars in the Sirius complex. And most of the indigos come from those 4 stars, but they're not all the same. People should understand there's a big difference between Sirius A, B, C, and, you know, so they're all
Huge.
different stars.
There's a really big difference in all kinds of things, but in each one of those planets, I think, isn't C like the biggest one, and
A is the biggest one.
A is the biggest. Okay.
Yeah, and then B is the next biggest, and C is a much smaller star,
Okay.
which is you know, our astrologers didn't know about Sirius C until about 1940 and 1940 sometime, because they're so close together. You couldn't really differentiate between them, but it was only through radio signaling they could determine that there was more than one star there.
Lyndon is asking you, she says, Colin, are you on an Indigo 3 contract?
Am I on?
Do you have an Indigo 3 contract? She's curious. I know some of the indigos come in with an Indigo 3 contract, but you can override these now as they're not necessary. But
Yeah, because all of us who came from other planets came here under contract. We contracted to do that. We have to, because it's a free will universe,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't be forced to come here. But many of us wanted to come here because we've had a long soul history with many of the people who are on this planet.
Yeah.
When I say long soul history, it's going back thousands and thousands of years, tens, maybe probably about 14,000 years.
Beautiful. Okay, so back to going into the DNA. Oh, no, that was actually going to be a question later. We're talking about burning through carbon base and how moving into actually what holographic blending is. So now we have a really good, base understanding of the hologram. So yeah, we have
Yeah,
that.
so in order to change the hologram from what it is now to something different, there's a plan in place. And it's not a plan that is, it kind of works like, we'll implement this plan, and if it doesn't work, we'll implement the next plan. So they've got lots of plans available to them. So that is how that system works. So the next stage will be a disclosure, many disclosures on this planet that are going to wake a lot of people up to the fact that they've been lied to, they've been manipulated, they've been treated like slaves, and they're just a small minority group of people on this planet controlling the planet. And once these disclosures happen, then there'll be a lot of people waking up all over the planet, and many of the starseeds and indigos that are still asleep here will begin to wake up.
Yes, I've been calling it the awakening of the awakened.
Yeah. But I think even the awakened, they've got a long way to go, in terms of raising their own consciousness, because, many are still 3D earthbound beings. They haven't really entered into a multidimensional way of thinking and an alternative way of thinking. They still think they're bodies, and that their bodies are the most important thing there is.
Right.
Whereas their souls are the most important part of them, because their souls create their bodies.
Right.
So you look after your soul, you have a better body. If you want to heal your body, you have to heal your soul first.
Yeah. That's exactly the truth. That's exactly the truth. And if you don't heal that, then you don't have, it's like once you heal it, then it changes the whole, as you're saying, the whole template, right? Like it clears everything out to make room. It clears things out of the physical body. So there's room for the light to be held in there. I don't know how to really explain that, but moves things out of the way to hold the frequencies.
Yeah, and after the disclosures, many people will wake up. Now, I mentioned that we have an event horizon of 24 years before this ascension opportunity closes. So anywhere between now and 2045, we're going to have this ascension happening. And I think it's going to come sooner rather than later, because once you have all these other people waking up, it's going to create a critical mass of energy because our energy is linked to Earth's energy. That's another thing people have to discover, because we are inextricably linked to the energies of Earth. Earth, in a sense, is our mother, gives us life. We feed off the Earth's energy. The Earth feeds off the sun's energy. The sun feeds off the galactic energies, and the galactic energies feed off the galactic central sun's energy. So there's this whole stream of energy that happens right from source. It goes back all the way to source. And when we have this critical mass of people awaking, this energy boost will boost Mother Earth's energies, and it will enter into the Earth's ley line system, and the Earth's ley line system will awaken. Now, there's another thing that people should know about that I don't think I've spoke about on your show, but I've spoken on other shows, that the beloveds have already started with the creating what is called the antimatter Earth, or parallel Earth. And I've explained antimatter. If you look in a mirror, your matter self is looking at your antimatter self. You're just looking at the light reflection in the mirror. And they've started based on the Earth's soul template, because the Earth is also a living sentient being, and it also has a soul template. And so the Earth soul template is being copied into the in a parallel system, parallel Earth, so that when Earth is ready, then the whole of Earth will ascend, but it'll only be the silicate-based Earth that will ascend. The carbon-based Earth will remain.
Will stay.
So
So it's like the soul of the planet.
Yeah, and so that will allow humans who have awakened to go, if they have the same soul template as Mother Earth and awakened enough of their DNA, they will also ascend with Mother Earth through the time-space portals that are opening up for us. Because the galactic central sun, when it flashes, it opens up portals through which people can go. It used to be the Stargates; those were the portals, but now we are being given other portals. The next big portal we've got is in the sun. The sun is also a portal to other dimensions. So the sun will receive the flash first, and then we will get it. And once we get it, then the sun will open up as a portal, and we'll move through. Now, we don't physically move through, it's our consciousness move. The holographic body, or the holographic self, the one that's created in our consciousness, it's our consciousness that creates this holographic system around us. It's a total illusion that we create ourselves. But between now, the disclosures that happen on Earth and the event, people must really do the work on themselves to raise their consciousness, because your consciousness is what creates matter. Okay, it creates your reality. So people have to raise their consciousness. And how do you do that? You have to change your thinking. You have to change your feeling. You have to set high standards and values. You have to change your attitudes. And all those things are necessary, because thoughts are energy, emotions are energy. Thoughts are electrical energy, emotions are magnetic energy. And it's these magnetic and electrical waves. That's the magnetic wave supports the electric wave. So as you raise your thoughts, you also have to raise your emotions. So we have to take better care of our emotional lives and take back control of them. Now, most people think that it's not possible to control your emotions. Well, that's simply not true.
I know. It's just not. And we talk about this a lot, Colin, you and I, and here on the show, but also within the people around us. And the reason this comes up so often is because, whoever controls the mind controls the soul. And if your mind is controlled, you're not going to be in control of your emotions. That means you're going to play the blame game. She made me feel this way. I'm like this because my parents did that. You're not taking control of your own reality and your own sense of, there's no accountability. And so you're always going to continue to allow someone else to control you, whether that be the person in front of you in a relationship or that be governmental structures.
Yeah, like I said earlier, that people have to begin to learn to respond instead of react.
Right.
Okay, and response, that ability to respond, is what responsibility is all about.
Right.
It's the ability to respond instead of react to situations. For instance, the Navy SEAL divers, a special group of them are trained how to breathe underwater. with no oxygen tanks, because they discovered when people drinking water and it goes into their lungs, they die of shock because they're afraid of dying. So they have to train these SEAL divers mentally how to survive that shock to their lungs, and they go through simulation training of it, and they have to visualize it and imagine their lungs filling with water, and then they try it with warmer water, and they go into colder water, make water colder, until they can actually breathe in water, and water has enough oxygen in it to be able to provide oxygen to your body.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that
That's
just shows.
impressive. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
and
That's awesome.
so this whole ability to control one's emotions is what people have to really take responsibility for and say, because if your thoughts and your emotions are out of sync, you are not communicating properly to the earth, to the universal system. Because what happens, you have one wave collapsing the other wave. And so your magnetic and electric waves are not in cohesion, so they're not sending out the signal. But if you learn to be cohesive with your thoughts and emotions, you are better able to communicate with the universe. Now that's where the holographic blending is going to happen. And because what's happened here, because the various things were done to the earth, and the earth was controlled through something called the blank slate technologies, the core frequency that people run on here is a frequency of fear. It's a fear-based frequency. So they have to change that frequency to a love-based frequency. Now, how they do it, it's like having an orchestra, and all the instruments are tuned to 440 hertz, as they are at this point in time. And that was introduced by the Third Reich to complement their Wagner music with music of Wagner to stir up the people, get them more military thinking. And so the middle C note was changed from 432 to 440. And so now imagine the orchestra, all the instruments are tuned to 440, but the universe is going to provide each one of us with our higher self, who will intervene and read our thoughts and emotions, and will intervene and raise those frequencies to a love frequency. So we begin to relate to our reality in a loving and meaningful way, rather than on a fear-based frequency. And these beings who will be assigned to us, it's usually your higher self that will be assigned to you, will be like another way I explain it is, and it's an easier way to understand this, is imagine if we are projectors in a cinema and we project in a movie, and in the movie we see ourselves acting out in the movie. So in the sense, we are projecting the hologram onto the movie screen, but we are not the writers, script writers, we're not the producers, we're not the directors, we're not the set directors, we're not the cinematographer. All of that is run by a cabal of a small group of people who've indoctrinated us with their kind of thinking, their kind of responses, what they want us to do. They really are controlling this planet. And so what will happen is, it's like they will bring in a projector alongside the projector, and that other projector is your higher self, and that projector will begin to project onto the screen, so that the screen will begin to change. So the reality you observe will begin to change, and it'll feel like you're living in two realities at the same time.
Yes.
And a lot of people are experiencing that even now. I've had a lot of people tell me that they feel like they're running in two different realities.
Exactly. And this is causing for some people, disorientation. To levels of like falling down, because there could be a stair there or a step, but in your real reality, there's nothing there. And so you take that extra, that's just, an idea, and a small example of what Colin's explaining is, when you take these, it's like having a Viewmaster, remember those Viewmasters when you were a kid, and you put two slides in at once, and you see, when the pictures are lined up. And so it's like, that's how I'm seeing you explain the projector thing, is that there are literally two pictures or two possibilities or two worlds, literally uh, processing at the same time, or, being projected at the same time.
Yeah, and if you are attached to the old paradigm, that old paradigm will attach to you. Okay, that's how it works. Everything is in a symbiotic relationship with everything else in the universe, and it works not just between people, but between plants, animals, everything that's material. They have a symbiotic relationship with other matter forms around it. So what you observe and you attach to will attach to you.
Yes.
It will
Yes.
become your reality. So at that time, it's important that people let go of the old reality and embrace a new reality, a love-based reality, a reality of kindness and doing good, and not being materialistic and, judgmental and vain and, all those things that we have here, all our nice sins that we like to hide.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to go back to this sound frequency, how the frequencies were changed. Um, so with having that middle C note changed, and an example of mind control, like, because some people just love their music. They love, love, love the music. They don't care about the hertz. They don't understand the mind control stuff. But, I think of it as this: if you are, think about how fast a song is trending, and how fast somebody memorizes the words of that song, and how that vibrates through the body. And it's fascinating to me because so much of these frequencies are tied into the traumas that they're pumping through the planet: sexual traumas, false king of tyranny traumas, poverty traumas. And it's like these songs like vibrate that through your body, right? And you know them forever. You literally have them in your mind forever, and then they stimulate, they stimulate the mind to act accordingly, because then your body acts accordingly, continue to feed into the system that they have created for us. So it really limits the music it's not that you can't enjoy music, but going into it consciously understanding you're going to have to override this programming as you're currently listening to it, I think is a skill to have. Just,
Yeah, yeah. And the frequency is rhythm. Okay, rhythm is frequency, frequency is rhythm. When you hear a drum beat, that is creating frequency. It's the number of time beats on the drum in the time-space continuum. So be aware of the pace of life. And we were talking earlier how things just seem to be going so fast, time just flying by. So I've noticed that. Right? So what's happening with time? Well, if you're in a cycle, okay, a spiral, and the spiral gets down like the spiral in a bath plug, when it gets to the bottom, it goes very fast. And time, in a sense, is like that. We're going down the spiral and that space-time continuum where ascension happens. And that's why time really speeds up at the last cycle, during the last cycles of that spiral.
Mhm.
And that's, in a sense, what we are experiencing, the increase in rhythm. The rhythm of life is increasing. But the way rhythm works in the universe is that it works through a process that I won't go into now, but we'll talk about it some other time. But yeah, there's we're going to have some big changes on this planet, and it just depends on what people embrace, whether they will embrace a new paradigm or if they want to remain in the old paradigm.
Right.
And I think there are enough people now who want to go through into a new paradigm.
Hmm. I agree with you. I think there are, and I think with this next wave of awakening, um, and again, it's really going to be about the awakening, the level of awakening that's going to happen with quote unquote awakened people is going to be the massive shift for being able to hold these vibrations. I am very curious because we have the opportunity to, well, with all of the planetary changes and shifting, we open up into harmonic universe 6. So, which means to me, everyone has the opportunity, should they be attuned to this and working, clearing their pain bodies, working with clearing the lower frequencies, they can function from dimensions 16, 17, and 18. Now, with this ascension cycle moving into, no, they can't. Are you saying, well, anyway, so with this moving into 2024, moving to 2045 with the end of this cycle, what are your thoughts and ideas on how many more harmonic universes are we going to have access to? Will it be infinite, or do you think that it will cap out?
Yeah, how it works is a harmonic universe consists of three dimensions. Okay, time, space, and rhythm. Those basically create the reality in those harmonic universes. So a harmonic universe is just a space of frequency and rhythm. And so those three dimensions, 1, 2, and 3, are, as I said, carbon-based and solid matter. When we go to the higher dimension, we go into dimensions 4, 5, and 6. Now, one can move from one harmonic universe to another harmonic universe unless you prepare your consciousness for that.
Right.
Okay. So when I was moved out of 3D Earth to go to another higher space-time continuum, I had to do a lot of work on myself, techniques, visualizations, um, sound toning, acid visualization, imagination, letting go of old paradigms, creating new paradigms, doing a lot of what they call code inductions into the pineal gland.
Yeah.
We soft focus to look at the certain symbols, and those symbols are energy. They are expressions of life, and of some life form. So you do all that, and then you do the breathing, the dancing, the circling around, the clapping, drum beats, and it's a lot of work
It is. It is
to
a
do
lot of work. Yeah.
to actually get your consciousness into a state of no attachment.
Right.
Okay, that it's you enter into what they call the void, the zone of nothingness. And from the zone of nothingness, you can move your consciousness if you've done the work
Mm-hmm.
to get to a higher dimension, because the zone will stop you. It's also called the shield. The zone and the shield are really the same thing, but they they have the function of both a void and a shield.
Mm-hmm.
And the functionality of the shield is to stop you from going into a higher frequency if you haven't got the soul codes to do that.
Right.
You haven't done the consciousness training. So yeah, I don't know. In my view of the multidimensional structure of the universe, I just see it as the 4 harmonic universes, which are 12 dimensions. And then we go into the God worlds, which are dimensions 13, 14, and 15. So we progress through those layers of consciousness from the physical to the semi-etheric, from the semi-etheric to the etheric, from the etheric to liquid light, and then from liquid light we go into the God worlds, which is just pure light and sound. And that's the progression that one goes through, in an ascension cycle. But when you hit the zone, it's a space of nothingness. There's no time and no space in the zone. So you don't experience space, you don't experience time. It's just, you just are aware of you being watched and examined, and then you move on. You are totally unaware of how long it's taken, because it's almost like walking through a door. You're not aware that when you're walking through that door, you're being examined. And if you haven't got the pass to get through the door, there's an invisible door that will stop you. But to the consciousness, it's just like walking through a door.
Interesting. I see. Thank you for that, Colin. I see a whole new harmonic universe opening. It opened up. I don't know if that's templating, soul templating. I don't know what that is, but I know there are some people that support that theory. And so it just makes me curious to see, because I can see the membrane, the shields that you talk about, they look like membranes to me, kind of. And I feel like, there's so much, it's not just the fallen angelics, right? We have some like AI, pretty high-end AI guys like the Borga, for instance, that can come in. And I feel like they can still infiltrate the 15th dimension. So with holographic inserting and pretty severe, interesting soul code stealing. But and so I feel like there's been support to access higher levels in the God worlds. I know God worlds are God worlds, but within them there are worlds within worlds, is how I see and experience that. But it just made me wonder, because our bodies are changing so much, because the way that they shift and move, into, like, when you dissolve the lower frequencies, your body shifts and moves, right? So and you go into orb body, right? And that's, of course, like you're saying, when you do the work. um so I don't know, I have in my like imagination I have in my imagination that, the infinite, that more will open. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's just that the reality, with our naked eye changes so much. Maybe that's, what I'm imagining or seeing, but or maybe that it is imagination, projection, consciousness projection becomes more infinite. I don't know. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for that.
An important part of preparing yourself is activating your Merkaba fields,
Yes.
and giving it into the right spin, right direction, and right spin speed, so that you optimize the amount of energy that is produced by your soul body.
Mhm.
And that, I'm going to start releasing that, I think, in July. All those techniques on how to raise your frequencies.
Very
But
cool.
yeah, but it's, in a sense, I was given a lot of those techniques, but they warned me that they were specifically designed for me, for my soul. So I should be careful about what I release to other people, because they have to use their own discernment about them, and it's a feeling process. Do you feel happy about doing this?
Yeah.
And yeah, so everyone must take responsibility.
Yeah, I agree with you. I share with people, they'll say, this doesn't work or that technique doesn't work. And I say, well, that's because you got it from somebody else. While somebody can be an amazing guide, it doesn't mean that those techniques are going to work for you. And it doesn't mean that they're correct, right? Like, but when you get just the basics down of who and what the constructs of humanity are, right? So you understand, the original soul template, the original angelic blueprint, which is the 12 spheres, right? and and then begin to go on, like Colin talks about, going up into the going up to 15, and how that even adjusts the body, moving into these different chakra systems, right? Because the actual body goes 1 through 15, right? And so this is how to construct and take care of that. But then each lineage even, I think, has different things that work better for them. So if you're more this or more that, then learn. There's so much to learn. I guess that's just the bottom line, is there's so much to learn. But I say, anytime you walk into somebody else's structure, you're playing in their video game by their rules. And I learned that from a friend of mine, and I never had thought about it that way, but that's exactly what it is, right? Like, you are no longer, so you have to go into something and understand that it's somebody else's system, right? And within
Yeah.
that system, you need to protect yourself, be responsible for yourself, and know what it feels like, if it's good for you or not good for you.
Yeah. 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 The void and the shield are like what are also called a buffer zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a buffer zone between harmonic universes, you
Yeah.
know. And a harmonic universe is just a range of tones within a certain frequency band. So it's like 12 octaves, and there's 12 notes in an octave. So you get 12 times 12, it's 144 sound tones. Okay, so and those sounds, each of those waves, sound is a wave, light is a wave, each one of those waves carries specific um, consciousness. And depending on how high you are able to go in your consciousness, you'll have higher experiences, better experiences, but you'll also place yourself on a higher probability timeline
Mm-hmm.
and a higher possibility timeline. And that's the process we have to go through, because we've been artificially kept in low frequency band timelines here, where we experience a lot of chaos, wars, and get death and murder and robbery and rape and all sorts of violence.
Right.
And that's happening because people have been trained to keep themselves in low frequency time bands, these notes of time.
I 100% agree with you. Let's see. Emily is saying, she's asking this, Colin, can you just ask your Merkaba to spin and vibrate as it was meant to be?
Well, if you don't know how it's meant to be, then you can't do that, because it's your intention that creates the spin. So one has to intend it and take responsibility for the direction of the spin. And it's basically very simple. That for a female energy, I'm not saying for female body or gender, just female energy that is magnetic energy, you spin it anti-clockwise, the top spin, and the bottom spin is in the opposite direction. And that creates the torque that is necessary, torque as in TORQE, that is necessary to create the maximum amount of energy within the Merkaba field, because the Merkaba field is actually an energy generator.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you do it using the spin speeds are 66 and 2/3 top speed and 11 and 1/3 bottom speed.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you. It's definitely important to know. And again, this is like, what do you want to, um, uh, what energy do you want, male or female energy, to be prominent in your biology, right? Which is how, so you can do it both ways. Like, you can swap them, and I could in my female body be spinning male energy out from me, or I can spin female energy out from me. Sabine is asking you this, Colin. Is it possible to amplify reversals by spinning the Merkaba if we don't do it right? hence create damage to our soul?
Well, you won't create damage to your soul because the soul is, in a sense, cannot be harmed in any way whatsoever. But what it can do is it won't feed sufficient energy from your soul to your body, because the Merkaba field generates the energy in the soul that actually animates and gives the body motion. So yeah, you can actually, you can get reverse spin Merkabas or the same spin Merkabas. And when you get the same spin Merkaba, what it does, it compresses energy. So it creates a very dark energy. And many people on this planet have got same spin Merkabas. There's some people that actually teach a reverse spin Merkabas. They don't teach it the right way, and that can harm your consciousness, because your soul is just a field of electromagnetic energy. It's called plasma. It's a plasma body,
Mm-hmm.
and plasma is highly charged ions of positive and negative ions.
Yeah. Um, so if you had same spin Merkaba, for instance, that's going to compress the energies, but it's not going to cause like soul splitting or fracturing or anything like that, right? Okay,
No, no.
okay. Thank
Yeah, but it's very difficult to do harm the soul, because the soul is eternal, okay? But it can be fragmented, and that can happen with when they set off the atomic bombs at Fukushima and Nagasaki. That got the attention of our soul family, because they suddenly realized that we had the uh, technology to fragment energy, fragment souls. Now, what happens to a fragmented souls? They lose their template and they have to go back into a reunification process to get their soul template back. If, for instance, Earth came from a planet called Tara, and the beings on Tara blew up Tara through by overcharging um, the, uh, the energy grids on Tara, and it broke up into 12 bits. So, in a sense, Tara's energy fields have been fragmented into 12 bits, and we just one of those bits. And what they've been doing since 25,000 years ago is recreating an energy, a soul body for Earth,
Right.
which they did, and Earth was able to support life. And once Earth was able to support life, then it went through its own soul evolutionary process. And the next part of the process is when Earth ascends, and of course, people will go with it.
Yeah.
The plants, the animals, they're all natural beings, and they will naturally ascend if they've got the right soul codes in their soul bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them do have. There are a couple of insects that were introduced here, and viruses and so on, that were not natural to Earth, and they will not be able to ascend. So we'll have a clean planet when we get to the other side.
So anything AI or Metatronic is not going to be moving into that process. Um,
Yeah.
this is I had this this was in terms of Sabine, um, and then you saying that not, there's, in terms of fracturing the soul. I see a lot of soul fracturing and damage from extreme physical and emotional abuse. I can see fracturing in the souls, and so that has like the same, and then going in, and it's easy, relatively easy to repair, right? Like you can go in and repair it in terms of, and I think that's, what Colin is saying. There's no like irreparable damage that can happen to the soul. Like it's all like healable. It's all, and once you set your intentions to do so, it actually happens rather quickly when you can recognize the issue that's happening, and you align your thought and intention, and everything just goes into right action. I don't know how you explain that, Colin, but it's about intention, knowing exactly what you're doing. And again, with your Merkaba, when you know how the Merkaba works and you just think that, it will start spinning that way. It will start working. Now, if you just said, like, say you have same spin Merkaba, and you say, make my Merkaba spin, and that's all your consciousness knows, it's just going to keep, making it tighter and tighter and tighter, and not allowing, it's going to be a closed system. So yeah, I hope that answered everybody's questions. Mosquitoes don't get to ascend. Brad said, do mosquitoes get to ascend? I swear to God, mosquitoes are AI. I swear they are. I don't know.
Mosquitoes and flies, not
Yeah,
going.
flies too. Oh my gosh, I'll watch them. I'm like, I feel like I'm being watched by these flies. If I see one on the window or something, I'm like, this is really creepy to me. They feel like little AI bots. It's the grossest thing. And what about pigeons? Have you ever seen a baby pigeon? Ever? Are pigeons real? I don't know. Search it up. I'm curious. I don't think they're real.
Yeah, I have seen baby pigeons.
You have?
Yeah.
I hope you'll send me
My
a picture because I've not seen a baby pigeon to date.
my brother used to breed pigeons, but they grow very fast once
Oh,
they've hatched. Yeah.
okay.
Um,
So
Within a
pigeons are
week, they all,
coming with.
yeah.
Ah,
I don't think they're AI.
okay.
I have no knowledge of that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think that wow. If there are any more questions, you guys, please feel free to pop those in the comments. Wow, Colin, this is really I feel like there's so much more to talk about with this because the holographic blending and understanding that there's a difference between the construct and then the blueprints, right? Or do you see what I mean? Like like I don't know, everything is so crazy and so amazing how it all just comes together. And the fact that people's DNA structures are coming online and coming online quickly, right? Like this is causing some physical side effects for people, right? More than just falling down and tripping, like people's hair are falling out, they're excessively tired or can't sleep. There's lots of different things that are happening, upset stomachs, headaches, these kinds of things. And then being around the frequencies, the AI frequencies that are being not only pumped into people, but they're working frantically. I'd love to hear your talk on this, and we can talk about it later. But I just want to pop it out there. But the fallen angelics, they've been uploading their consciousness to AI to create these new ley lines, right? So they're not having to embody. They're instead of embodying individuals, now they're setting out a frequency wave. Oh,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, those bastards. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, because this inoculation people are getting, they're going to make them AI,
Yeah.
put AI technology into their bodies. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, wow. And then that makes me curious about how well, it doesn't matter because, they're not going to shift over anyway. They've made their choice and they've made their decision. But
Yeah, but when the med beds are released, and they'll be released before the ascension takes place, everyone will go through a med bed treatment and get rid of all the stuff that doesn't belong there.
and then they just have to learn how to keep everything balanced after that. It's like you get a whole new clean slate. And hopefully a training manual will come with that for everybody to. So speaking of training manuals, do look up the writings of colinjoe.com because it's probably one of the best training manuals that is digestible. It's affordable, and you can literally really grasp the idea of how your Merkabas work, how your hologram works, how, what is the structure of who you are, right? And when you understand, even in the tiniest little way, you understand the structure of who you are, it's amazing what opens up to you. The healing, the changes, the way you view, whether it be the room you're in or the people that are surrounding you, how you talk to people, how you talk to yourself. My gosh, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. And that's just consciousness. People don't realize that it's consciousness. What consciousness do you hold?
Yeah,
Be aware
exactly.
of.
Yeah. Before we go, Nikki, thank you for that. Let's see. Nikki saying, I've heard that through the American military that they're working on a reversal of the inoculation. Um, and the theory is maybe they've always had it, right? Like, how many people can we get to do this? And then, so, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Yeah, med beds are on the way. And some people are saying med beds are a fallacy as well. Let's see, Angela is saying one with both shots of the elixir. Yeah. Um, Lots of conversation in here. Thanks, you guys. Wow. Thank you for being here today and listening about this. I encourage you also to follow Colin on Facebook if you're not already, because he puts out these amazing posts that are just thought provoking. And when we're curious and we're searching, this is the thing, we have to do the searching. We have to ask the questions. We have to find the answers, right? It does you no good for somebody just to say, okay, here's how it's going to be, because that just keeps you right in the mind controlled timeline of
Yeah.
everyone doing everything for you, and you never will ascend because you're not learning anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been great being with you again, Chastity, and all
Thank
the
you.
viewers. And I wish you a wonderful week. Have lots of fun.
Thank
and
you.
soon, in a week's time, that will feel like a day ago.
I know. And then pretty soon it'll be like a couple of hours, it'll seem. So I'm sending you so much love, Colin. Thank you so much for your wise words and for sharing everything. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Much love.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.